Welcome to Feel Good Talk, where our focus is on mind, body, soul, and business. You are now tuning into Let's Talk About It with your girl Izzi Meditates and your girl Kendra Moore. Oh, you can't see my arm. I gotta go like
that. Happy Thursday, you guys. You know, this is my favorite day of the week because we get to talk and hang out.
I love it. Thursday is my Friday, so I am always super excited about that. Today we have a special guest, her energy is absolutely amazing. You can tell by the smile, just watching her videos and going on her page. Her name is Renee Nix. She is an author, an educator, and a life coach. So glad to have you here.
Thank you so much. Thank you both so much. I'm so excited for this journey. Can't wait for this conversation.
Yes, I love it. I love it. So how's everybody's week going?
Renee, we'll start with you.
Not bad. I'm a school teacher. So anybody that's a school teacher in the school system, you already know we're on the countdown. This time next week, we'll be ending up the semester and ready for Christmas break. So not too bad. Just ready for exams and ready to send these children on where they need to be. Yeah.
Back to the parents, and then the parents will be waiting for the break to be over to send us
Exactly. But to be honest, I honestly don't sometimes feel like Christmas begins until we're out of school. I think that time off makes me really start to feel like I'm ready for that Christmas season and all the traditions and things that we do.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. So my week's going good. I found a house, so I would appreciate all of the good vibes and prayers that the closing goes well. Yeah, so I'm really super happy about that. We're scheduled to close January 4th. So yes. So I'm excited because then I'll feel like, even though, staying with my parents is great, and I'm very glad, which is one of the reasons why I moved here. Or the reason why I moved here, to be, near them and help them out and everything. But I'm also glad to get my own place, be planted, and kind of start my Florida life.
Yes. So, it's a nice little journey, but I felt like everything moved smoothly for you. It went in, and
Yeah. I always say God looks out for fools and babies. So he's been looking out for me. So what about you, Izzi?
Oh, well, let's see this week. It's been super busy. It's always super busy. October, November, December, all the way to January. But the excitement for this week, of course, my son began University of Sales last month, or took him 2 months ago. Well, his girlfriend was accepted to VCU. So we are excited about that. She's going to start college this upcoming August. So that was like the big highlight of the week. And she came by and my dream came true. I was able to sit down and show her all my son's baby pictures. I've been waiting for this since
he was
born.
Why that's so wrong.
The one with the butt out.
Oh, wow.
I had the time of my life. I've been waiting for this for 18 years.
You're getting cold for Christmas, Izzi.
Yes.
Okay, right. She's on the naughty list.
That's so wrong. So, Renee, let's talk about it. Yes. First, let's find a little bit more about yourself. Tell us where you are now, where you're from, and a little bit of an overview of what it is that you do.
Okay. All right. Again, thank you all. Grace and peace to each of you. I'm so thankful for another opportunity. Anytime I get an opportunity to talk and share my story, to encourage and inspire and empower, and just to be in the presence of you amazing women. I tell you, I feel the energy from you all. So thank you all so much for this opportunity. My name is Renee. I'm a typical PK kid. My dad's a pastor. My grandfather's a pastor. I have been in church my entire life. I am originally from Washington, D.C., but my mother is from Georgia. I came to Georgia years ago to go to college, and then I never left. So I kind of consider myself a Georgia peach. Still have a little rough edges of DC when I need it. At the same time, I consider myself a little Southern belle, like my mom and grandmother. And I live in Augusta, Georgia. I've been here for, about 16 years now. And again, as you all said, that I'm an educator and I'm an author, and And I'm a newlywed. I just got married in January.
Congratulations.
Coming up on 1 year. And so this journey of mine really began because God afforded me an opportunity to co-author a book called Delayed But Not Denied,
Nice.
which really and honestly was like if I had a theme song for my life, this book was it.
Yeah.
This opportunity to talk about the worst heartbreak I had ever gone through in my life, and the journey that God took me on to heal. A lot of times I know we talk about love and relationships, and we'll definitely stay a long time on what he did wrong, what she did wrong. But God had me really turn to a direction of introspection. And just like with the pandemic, I think a lot of people being inside, this has been a season of introspection. So I had to go through that before the pandemic, where I had to really begin to turn the light on myself. And I had to begin to start looking at, okay, what is El Renee doing? Who are you? Where are you going? And what is this thing you call life? And I had to begin with healing. And so 3 years later, I started a show called Single and Saving the Kingdom. It's a Facebook Live series where we talk all things love. I'm a romantic at heart. I'm the one that cries at weddings. I'm the one that loves all the Hallmark movies. At Christmas time, I'm buying the mugs and the ornaments because that's me. I'm the romantic at heart. But I also understand the reality of love, especially when it talks about heartbreak and healing and things of that nature. So I am that girl, when it comes to, I've been there. I don't talk from a perspective of I'm on the mountaintop and I want to look down on my peasant single friends. I'm saying I'll be turning 50 next year, and I have a lifetime of stories to share about being single and just about that whole journey and what it looked like for me. So I just want to be able to share what I can when people are ready to listen.
Yeah.
And your saved and single Facebook chat or video show. Sorry, Facebook show is fire. So I was just saying before the show that I had a chance to catch some episodes, and El Renee had me getting up from my seat, walking the church floor when I was in my little office area. It is because what I love about you, El Renee, and I expressed this to you, is that you are practical and tactical. So it's not pie in the sky type of things. It's like, okay, this is in a practical sense. This is how you should be evaluating where you are at in life, mentally, yourself, your relationship, and tactically, this is what you need to kind of perhaps do in order to move yourself forward. So for me, I'm trying not to jump into this topic right now. Is it good to ask a question? Because I want to go somewhere with this, but I'm gonna let Izzi go ahead.
Oh yeah. I know she's got a list because she sent me a message. She's like, "You gotta see this. You gotta see this."
I know. I'm so thankful. I don't take it lightly at all. But
so
I go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was gonna say we want to know how your journey began.
Okay.
How did you start off as a life coach? And if you want to go back a little bit further, then we'd love to hear that.
Okay, sure. As I said before, I'm a PK kid. And so my father and mother were very, very strict, very conservative home, especially although I saw longevity in my family. My parents have been married almost 50 years. My grandparents, I just lost my grandfather last year in August. He was 91. Him and my grandmother, who is still alive, they had been married for 64 years.
Wow.
And everybody in my family, in terms of my mom's side, even my dad's side, everyone was married to their high school sweethearts. So my story was that I saw longevity in relationships, and I did make an assumption that longevity would be my portion. I really did think that. I thought, well, if everybody else is around me, I know what it looks like. I know what it should feel like. I've seen the evolution of long-term love, but that wasn't my story. I mean, it just wasn't. I don't know if it was because I just was not prepared for love. One thing I tell a lot of my clients, and I tell people on the show, I consider myself a church girl. Church girls don't date easily. we're not good at dating. We might be great at service and ministry, and we might be great with, being a good sister, a good friend, all of these things, but we typically don't do well in the area of relationships. And my journey began because I had to begin to admit that you don't really know how to date. You've been on a million dates, but you don't really have the principles and the foundation. You don't have the boundaries. You don't have the intention about what you're looking for in dating. And so that was where my journey began. I just had countless dates and countless relationships where I really, in hindsight, was wasting my time. And it began because I just wasn't ready. A lot of times, I know for myself and my single girlfriends, we would talk over and over and over again about when, Lord, when is he coming? Where is he? I'm tired. When? But my journey, when I talk about it in the book, the worst heartbreak I had ever gone through, it was a public relationship. Again, he was everything that I had asked for. He was everything I prayed for, to be honest. So you know how we talk about that list with all of the check boxes around it? On paper and on the surface, he was that person. But guess what? Not understanding me, not dealing with my own trauma, my own healing, it led me down a whole road of heartbreak with a man that I was only dating on the surface. Can I be honest about that? I was definitely, and I'm big on surface daters. I'm big on being a serial dater where I'm dating the same person in a different body over and over and over again. That was me. Right. That was me. And my journey began when I had to start telling the truth about things, that I was still hung up on the way he looked, the way we looked together. I mean, again, on paper, we were the perfect power couple. But he had some deep-seated trauma, some deep-seated abuse, some deep-seated narcissistic behaviors and things that if we had gotten married, one of us probably would have been in jail, to be honest with you. And then looking ahead, seeing how even after our relationship ended, you went on not only to me, but I think you're now on wife number 3. Yes. And so my journey began when I began to talk about how I healed from it. And it wasn't the glamorous healing. It wasn't me laying on a chaise lounge with my hand to the sky saying, oh, I just declare, I just don't know if I'm going to make it. No, it was dirty. It was murky. It was ugly. It was miserable. It was embarrassing because, again, this was the first man that I allowed to come into my world. I was very discreet in dating, being in ministry and being in leadership. And I came from a family that you just couldn't bring anybody around. So I was very discreet about the people that I led into my world. And he was the first guy that I decided that I was going like, this is it. I thought all the boxes are checked. Everything went like it was supposed to. And 3 months later, we were engaged. But guess what? 3 months later after that, he was gone. Disappeared. Wrote a note on my door and said, hey, I'm moving back to our hometown. See, this is the part of my story that I like to share with people, because we'll make it seem like it's glamorous. We'll watch these reality TV shows. I'm sorry, y'all. We'll watch these reality TV shows and we'll think of things in this glamorous way. But love, even in its worst times, it's not glamorous. And I wanted to begin to share my story of how I grieved. It felt like a death in me happened. It felt like something in me died. And for 2 years, I cried every single day. Now, mind you, I still was teaching my students. I'm still being a mentor. I'm still doing all of these things. But what I was doing was suffering silently. Nobody knew what I was really dealing with going home. I was great at putting the mask on, great at, making myself look like everything was okay. Because let's tell the truth about that. People get tired of hearing your story. Your girlfriends, your besties, at some point they're like, now, all right, it's time for you to move on. But what do you do when your heart is not moving on? What do you do when you're not even breathing? And so everything just led to this point of me beginning to see that it was time for Renee to heal. I honestly thought that being with this particular person, I thought that two broken people would come together and we would make a whole life. And I'm not the only person that believes that. I know that now. And that's why I share my story so transparently, because I know that how we can put the facade on in front of people. But again, a lot of the perceptions of love and a lot of the things that I thought I knew about love were really just from a bird's eye view of what I saw. I didn't have the privilege of going behind the veil, so to speak, and actually being able to see the reality of things, that you can actually love each other and still be two broken, completely nutty people. Loving somebody doesn't mean that you always know how to get along with one another, all of these things. And so for 2 years, I cried. I went through this journey of isolation. And God told me very, very clearly that I'm going to heal you from the inside out. And so I began to talk about that in the book, where I talked about how I couldn't share my story. I started a mentoring program for other women, and we began to mentor each other. But that entire time, I could not talk about my story. It wasn't my time yet. And so I'm big on understanding now that as I'm a life coach and dealing with people and transforming their lives, I stumbled into it because it was something I was already doing, but I wasn't intentional about it. And then when the more I talked about my story, the more I actually began to understand that I needed to begin to share my story now. It was my turn to tell people, listen, it hurts, but it's better to hurt now than to be in a lifetime of misery with the wrong person. So
that's great. I'm going to go on that because that was awesome. I want to hit some comments real quick because we have some people who came on.
Okay, Mr. Charles Brakely in the house says hello. Good evening, ladies. Hi. How are you, Chuck?
Grace and peace to you.
We have Amy Lanice Cowherd says good evening, Feel Good Talk. Thank you for tuning in, Amy. How are you? Shayna Gordine's in the house, Feel Good Talk family. Hey, everyone.
Hello.
Hey, Shayna. Amen to that. I'm bad with figuring out where they go.
When she was just talking. Yep, and Amy agrees.
Amy agrees exactly.
As well. So let's go where I want to go back is how to date. So I want to kind of start back from, so we know, okay, so I don't want you to tell everything that's in the book, right? Oh, sorry. Hold on. Let me get to our, I don't want you to
say this really quick before you go into that part?
Yeah.
I was going to say what really stuck out when you said that, because I'm big on trauma and grief, is people think that trauma and grief are death when that's not true. Your heart can be ripped out, stumped on, smashed and burned by a relationship, and you can suffer the same type of grief as if a relative had passed. And the traumatic part was that you had something you loved just gone.
Oh yes,
that is terrible. Like that's terrible. And that 2 years that's a long time. If you took longer than that, I would completely understand that too.
Oh right,
because what you knew is no longer. That's grief.
And you know what the thing is, what I learned about that particular process, that 2 years for me, number one, it told me that all these times that I said, but I love him, I was lying. I didn't love him. You know why? Because if I can move on as quickly as some of these people move on to the next situation, it makes me understand you really didn't have a lot of your love invested into that relationship. You may have had your hopes about the relationship, but when you invest your heart into someone, you can't move on from that very quickly. It does feel like that. I can completely understand people who go through divorce and how, even 20 years later, that person may still have, that hole in their heart. And people quick to say, oh, you need to move on. But you know what I had to understand? A lot of times we don't know how to move on. It's not that we don't want to move on, but I needed solutions. I needed someone to give me a step-by-step, not 3 steps to a miracle, not name it and blame it and grab it and blab it, not these cliche types of things, but I needed a practical step one. About the fact that you hurt me, and let's deal with that. Let's not skip over those things. So I'm so glad that you said that, because that's exactly what I was going through. That grief those stages of grief, in all honesty, especially, you know what was the hardest part? It was hard to give up on all the dreams that we had made together, all the
Wow.
plans that we had made together.
Yeah.
Again, I had never been married. I didn't have any children. And so I had been waiting a very, very long time to experience this next phase in my life, which means I also had a lot of time to fantasize about it. I had a lot of time to plan about it in my head. And so when the relationship was over, I still had these plans that
Wow.
I didn't have a person to execute them with. That was where I was stuck.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to do and help singles to understand that and to be and give validity to the fact that it's okay to say I am stuck. I know people sometimes want you to hurry up and move on because they're tired of hearing about it. But I know the honesty of it's okay, dear, if you're not ready to move on. But let's talk about why. Let's talk about how you're stuck and why you can't move on. So I'm glad that you picked up on that, Izzi, really.
Yeah.
And now, okay, I'm gonna X this how to date thing off because now you said something else, which was I don't like scratch that off for right now. But the fantasize about it, right? Because when you said that, that's like a light bulb. Because I think that happens a lot. Like we are in the present and we don't see what's right in front of us because we are our minds are projected out. Like, okay, we're gonna have pretty babies, and then we're gonna be traveling, and then we're gonna do this. You know what I mean? So, but you're not paying attention to like the right here and what needs to be worked on right here. So I felt that when you said the fantasize about it, because we get going back to your October 14th one, we get tricked, and we're tricking ourselves by doing that.
Oh yeah, for sure. One of the things that we always talk on the show about tricks and traps, and then we end with the truth. Because I want to focus on the fact that how we're trapped in these same toxic situations, and let's go there. It's not always romantic relationships. That was another layer of what I had to begin to understand when Izzi was talking about the trauma, the PTSD, as we say, in relationships. It usually is not always the romantic relationship that causes the trauma. Let's go there. It's really not. It usually is the family dynamic. It's the friend dynamic. It's the authority dynamic. There's so many dynamics that we take into romantic relationships, but it manifests itself there. So one of the things that I had to begin to understand was that, listen, I had to break up with, and I tell my clients this all the time, you have to begin to break up with the fantasies that you created in your head so that you can make space for the reality of who he's going to be. He can be the right man. Listen there. He can be the right man. But if you're still in love with, in covenant with, and married to this fantasy, he will never measure up to that. I have met amazing, beautiful women who have had good men in their presence and saying, hey, I'm here, I'm ready. But because they didn't measure up to the fantasy that they created, they would either talk themselves out of it, or they would not be able to recognize that this is it. It just comes in a different form. Love is ambiguous. It's not going to be the same way it always was. And I think it's so important for singles to be clear. That's why I preach this message about being ready, dating readiness. I'm a life coach because I want to help singles be prepared for love. All of it, not just the bad, not just the makeup love, because a lot of times we want that too. I want you to make up for what this guy did or what this woman did. But the reality of that is so unfair to put that pressure on another person to be your savior. Nobody is asking you to be Jesus Christ Jr. Nobody. Okay? Nobody's asking you to get back on the cross and lay your hands up. Nobody's asking you to do that. That's too much pressure on another person. When some of these things are things that we are called to do, especially the self-healing, that's my job. That's not somebody else's job. And I was doing that in that particular relationship that I talk about in the book. I wanted him to make up for all of the other things that I had gone through. He was broken and traumatized himself. And so that puts pressure on him that I didn't even know I was putting on him to be something that he could not be, and it wasn't his job to be. It wasn't.
Wow. I feel like females are not. in relationships, period, that there's a fantasy with, you said, like the look, like the
Oh,
wearing of the ring, like
oh
the
God,
dress,
yes,
and you get
yes,
into that, and then when it's all
yes.
over and all the family goes away, you're like, boom, okay.
Right,
What's
right,
the
right.
next?
And you know why it's like that? Because it's what I call surface dating.
Yeah,
We date and we're taught, let's go there. We're taught as children. Look at all of the fairy tales. Look at all of
right,
the nursery rhymes. Look at all the stories, the fairy tales that we, do. And I'm working on something right now where I'm breaking down those characters. Think about it. We are almost taught to only focus on these surface qualities, and not very often, even movies like Maleficent and Snow White and
right,
Cinderella, all of these stories portray this woman who is not complete until who comes along? The prince.
right,
Right.
Think about
right.
that.
Yeah,
Until the prince arrives, now my life can begin. And guess what? We're all little girls at heart. We all
right,
have that eternal question. So guess what?
Right.
We're all sometimes still, underneath, still looking for the qualities that we've been ingrained in, even as children. But I had
yeah.
to break up with that and understand that you're a grown woman now, dear. I don't have to keep
It's
going
like,
around kissing frogs. That's not reality. It's not, and it's gross. Stop it. Tell myself to stop kissing these frogs
I
and
know that's
hoping
right.
that they're going to turn into this prince. It's
right,
not the way it is. Prince, think of it. A prince, a king is someone who is born into it. You
right,
understand? He's born into that role.
Mhm.
He's not a frog that we're hoping that if I kiss him right enough, or kiss him at the right time, he'll turn into something. You're already born into royalty. So
right,
let me stop.
right.
I'll go. I get deep.
Oh, I love it. I do want to hit some comments. So,
Sure.
Yes. Alice Tolan. Hi,
Good
cousin. Good
evening. Grace
evening.
and peace
Thank you
to
for
you.
tuning in.
and we have someone that is given, letting Sophia know. Erica's letting
Yes.
Sophia know to tune
Yes.
in.
Join
Erica,
us.
sorry.
Yes.
Erica D. Tillery says, good evening, ladies. Speak, talk to me. Found good to talk to God. Thank you for
Yeah.
tuning in, Erica.
Yeah.
She also says, wow, you sound like me.
Honey, I am every woman. Listen, we got some stories to tell.
I know
Okay.
Yeah.
that's right. We should collaborate and make a book. That thing would be bigger
Yes,
than
that would be a
what is
great
it?
one.
An
Yes.
encyclopedia.
Listen. Yeah.
It'd be an encyclopedia of volumes, I'm sure.
Yes. Charles Berkeley says you have to come into a relationship whole.
There we
Yeah,
go.
that's true, but people
Mhm.
don't teach that. You know what I mean?
No, it's not.
People are broken, like you said, traumatized from previous things that have happened. They've
Mhm.
stuffed it. You don't know until
Mhm.
y'all together in the house and something
Right.
happened, triggers it, and then boom, you're
There
like,
you
what
go.
the heck just happened?
Right, right. And you know what I had to learn about that? That was another journey that I had to take even before I got married, before I even met my husband.
Yeah.
Again, I don't have anything to be ashamed of. I want people to learn from the things that I've gone through. I had to begin to understand that there are three voids in our lives. There's a God void. And again, this is from my personal perspective. There was a void there that only God could fulfill in me. So if I was trying to make the man my God, which is what this relationship I talk about in the book, that's what I was trying to do. In all honesty, I was moving God out the way, because if I had married him, I would have tried to make him my God. I would have. I would have
Right.
idolized him. I would have worshiped him. I would have bowed to him. I would have prayed to him. I would have done all of that in the sake of understanding that I'm trying to make you something you were not designed to be. That was not the void you were supposed to fulfill in me. That spiritual journey that I needed to take had nothing to do with him.
Yeah.
Then the other void that I like to talk about, which is the biggest one that women skip over, women and men, honestly, that skip over, is the self-fulfilling void. We can
Mm.
sometimes spend so much on the relationship void and being with a man, being with a woman, that you're skipping over the main two, that whether he comes or not. And that was where I had to get to. Whether I had a man or not, I had to begin to move into my self-fulfilling void, which is how I became a transformative life coach, which is how I began to write co-author this book, which is why I began Single and Saving the Kingdom. Those were the things that I was supposed to do with a man or without it. But I had spent so much of my years only focused on the romantic relationships and that romantic void, that relationship void, that I had to begin to understand that, listen, what happens? And then okay, let's go there. You meet women and men that when their spouse dies and they're completely lost, or their kids, once they're grown and they're out of the house and they can't hardly function, it's because you spent so much time out of balance only focusing on one void in your life. Right. People are going to die. People are going to grow up. Kids are going to move on. Kids are going to, they're supposed to do those things. But I understand that when you only focus on one area of your life, it's going to leave those other areas unattended. And so I want to encourage singles for sure to make sure that you're focusing on those other areas of your life that fill you up. Because guess what? You can get a man, you can get the right one, and it still won't fill you up, because those things he cannot put, I look at it like cups. He can't fill those cups because he doesn't have what it takes to keep me filled up in those areas.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Right.
That is good.
Yes.
Erica Detour. Erica. She says, I'm not ashamed to say but some women need to stop giving to a man that not giving us just to keep them.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So
I understand what you're saying, dear.
Because Renee, her comment, and I'm gonna go back to this episode because I love it. But her comment is kind of like that, right? Like you were talking about, like the traps that we fall into, and then you had started talking about how you're in this. I forgot what zone it was, but it's like a zone where you're the one that's doing all the giving. And then the nurturing and this, I'm gonna be there for you and help you, and then it's not reciprocated.
Yes, so, it's the entanglement zone. It's what I call the entanglement zone. It's where you are already invested emotionally, physically, sexually. You're already invested into a person who has not made that same commitment back to you. And again, it wears you out because you're giving of yourself to someone who should never, and I tell my clients this all the time, your heart never comes to the date, and it doesn't come into the dating arena until you have had three things happen. You have had enough time, you have had enough space, and you have had enough consistency. Now I invite my heart into this relationship. So at the end of the day, we can stay in the friend zone as long as we need to until I see time. We've had enough time. I don't care how fine he is. I don't care what he says he wants. I don't care if he promises you the moon and the stars. The heart stays inside, locked away until we have had enough time to see, do we align? Do our love goals align? Not how fine you are, because looks will fade. Not how great you are in bed, because that can get old too. Let somebody get sick, honey. What is the bedroom going to do for you then? Nothing. Right. Wow. The marriage vows go deeper than just the surface, but we are entering and becoming wives illegally to people who have not committed themselves to us. If he won't give you the benefit of his last name, the benefit of that insurance money, the benefit of his protection and the favor that comes along with him, then how am I becoming a wife already? Because I'm doing your taxes, I'm taking care of your mama and your babies and your kids. And we're just doing too much. We're doing too much. And then we're looking at him saying, you did me wrong. But I'm saying the accountability of me being a honest person with myself, saying, wait a minute, I gave myself to him. He didn't take it from me. Sometimes I was the one guilty of giving away the best parts of me to someone who we were going to always be in the entanglement zone. We would always be in the friend zone. And guess what? If I go back in hindsight, I knew that from the beginning, but I was still listening to the fantasy in my head. I was still being tricked.
Yeah, that's hard. That is so hard. I want to give a shout out to Chuck, because Kendra and I, we talk offline or whatever. And there was a gentleman that was on. I cannot remember his name, but I think he was a coach as well. And he was saying, when you go on a first date, do not go out to eat. Do not go to the movies, but go for a walk. because when you go for a walk, you guys you can't make up things to talk about, and you kind of
Right.
feel that person out. So after that day, you're going to know if you want to. So Chuck was saying how, he would take people out and get ice creams. Like something simple, you know what I mean? Because then
but
you are
not
able,
Netflix and chill. And I'll
right, to connect.
No
Because
Netflix and chill.
no
to the
Netflix and chill
fantasy.
dates. No.
Yeah.
No.
The fantasy begins when he takes you out on this elaborate dinner. And then you begin to say, well, hey, he really likes me a lot because he spent this. But the girl before, he probably spent the same amount of money. It's not like it's anything special. But that's where I was getting, with the fantasy that begins.
Right.
And then if he buys you a piece of jewelry or something like that, you're like, oh my gosh, he really does. And then you guys start moving into something that's an entanglement.
Yes, I love that. Like, I felt literally like the cobwebs. I'm like, entanglement made me think of like cobwebs.
Right.
Because that's how it feels. Because it's like, you ever walked into a cobweb? Girl, first, yes, I have been through it. I'm right there. So anyway, you ever walk into like a spider web and then you're like this? But you didn't, like, you didn't see it, but all of a sudden you're all wrapped up in it, and it seems like it hits like that because you weren't paying attention. Exactly. And that's, that's kind of how, when you were talking, I was just thinking, man, the spider webs.
Yes.
I think he was calling it love bombing. It's called love bombing when a person gets you all these things to make you feel a certain way. And so you caught up in that you don't see what's really going on.
Right.
Yeah.
And one of the main things that I found out is that, especially professional single women, we might excel in business. We might excel in our other relationships. We're usually the go-to girls. We're usually the ones who are great friends. We're the great auntie, and all of these things. We typically are very successful in our lives. But one thing I had to learn, I had to be honest with myself, I had horrible boundaries. I was a serial project manager. That's not what I wanted to be. I wanted to be a wife. I wanted to be a teammate. And when I talked about those zones that Kendra was talking about on that particular show, that was the whole purpose of that, because I wanted to enlighten singles to understand that you can be in these different zones with the internal intention of always getting to what you want, which is the end result. I want to be a wife. I want to be in a committed relationship. I want to be a girlfriend. But you think that you have to go through these rites of passage in terms of these different zones in order to earn that. But my entire dating life changed when I became intentional about my dating. I became intentional about what I wanted, and I began to date with the intention of how do you align with what I'm looking for. Again, stop. We romanticize situations with the person to say, because guess what? Professional women a lot of times are told this too. You're too picky. You cut them off too soon. We've got to normalize the honesty of it. It's okay, dear, if you are picky. What you're looking for is someone who can look at you, your behavior, your intentions, your honor, and they can look at that, and that's what they want. They are attracted to that. But what we do is continue to try to be with people who tell us that they don't want that, and then we begin to adjust our boundaries and our intentions to fit someone who doesn't want what we want. If they tell you you're too picky,
right.
Thank you.
Right.
Okay. I agree. I am picky. And I'm glad to know that, hey, you're a good person. It doesn't mean he's a bad person. Because can I tell you this? Good men and good women will waste your time too. And see, a lot of times we're wasting our time because we're trying to convince someone who has told us from the beginning that we're not aligned.
Right.
And it's okay.
I just got chills like on them.
I know, girl. I'm sitting here writing notes like crazy. I'm like, I almost forgot I'm on the show. I'm just like, okay, let's get some comments real quick, and then let's jump right back into this topic.
Amy Lenise says, I learned that the hard way. Now my heart is locked up.
That's it, dear. Keep it locked up until time, space, and consistency.
Yeah, I'm writing this down too.
And she also says, I don't need a boyfriend. I need a man prepared to be a husband.
Yeah. And that's a good one. I like that. Izzi, going on a walk.
I go on a walk. I know. Like when he said that, I was like, wow, the love bombing thing is just, that happens all the time.
It's real.
I mean, people do that all the time. You could even
Well,
have
because
friends.
we are still allowing our culture and the cultural strongholds around relationships. We're still allowing those things to dictate how we pursue love.
Yeah.
That was another thing that I had to begin to understand when I met my husband. I was at a better place in my life, and I was at a healed place in my life, to where I understood that I needed to recreate. And I started Single and Saving the Kingdom because I wanted to redefine what being single was in the 21st century. Some of us are still living by the Leave It to Beaver mentality about love. We really are. We are still looking for, he has to come to my house, and we have to, go on a date, and he has to show interest in me only through a financial gain. But that's another reason why I say no Netflix and chill dates in the beginning, because that pushes you into a boundary of intimacy that you all aren't ready for. You don't need to know what the inside of my house looks like. You don't need to take your shoes off because you're not staying. You don't need to be comfortable enough where, you coming over in your t-shirt and your sweatpants. You act like you're going to stay and not leave. No, I want you to understand, even in symbolism, that this is my space that you are invited into. Don't make an assumption that just because you came over to watch a movie, because that's what Netflix and chill means. Pretty much now in the dating world now, when a man invites you over for a movie, or you're inviting him over, that pretty much means, we might start watching a movie, but there's going to be some intimacy involved in that. But why am I doing that after the third date? That's not where I want to go. That's not what I want. I want to get to know you. You want to audition. And I don't mean audition as if you are the prize. You are, but I mean in terms of dating in the beginning should only be just to get to know you. There's no emotions invested in getting to know you. That way, if you're not what I'm looking for, it does not hurt me to say, no, thank you.
Now, when you agree to make
real quick, Izzi, because we just have this comment, and I want to make sure she gets it out there. What is the name of the book, and where can we get it? And also, let the people know about your podcast too, and when that comes on.
I certainly will. First of all, my book is called Delayed But Not Denied, Book 3. It is a compilation of stories of women who have been through all kinds of life stories, and we have found resiliency through that. You can reach out to me on my website. My website is the El Renee Way, because I can only do it the way El Renee does it, right? TheElReneeWay.com. You can purchase the book there. Also, I have a project coming out in February. I'm so excited. It's called Are You Ready for Love? I want to be able to offer to singles, not just to talk about are you ready for love, but I have solutions so that you're ready. And then if you find out you're not ready, then guess what? I got something for that as well. So you can reach out to me on my website. You can also follow me on Facebook, El Renee Nix. My show Single and Saved in the Kingdom. I'm on every Thursday night at 9 p.m. on Facebook Live. And we get into it. As a matter of fact, for December, I'm doing giveaways every week in the month of December, because I want to be a blessing to people. I don't want it to always be where, we're asking you for everything, but I also want to make sure that we're letting our singles know that in our community, we want to foster better relationships. And so I can't wait for you all to join us. I'd love for you all to join us every Thursday at 9 p.m. And I do individual coaching. I do group coaching. I even do faith-based coaching with church singles groups. So if you have a group of your girlfriends, you want to do a book study or things of that nature, you can reach out to me. I've done singles challenges. I just did one last month. It was amazing. It was called Cuffing Season, because this is cuffing singles.
She going in.
It's big boy season. And big boys and big girls are ready to settle in and snuggle in, and they're looking for a little snuggle party. We got to be careful, because you can snuggle for the holidays, and then come February, they're gone.
Yeah. That's
right.
funny.
Be careful with that. So yeah, we're working on some other things. Yes, sir.
Awesome. And I'll be sure to put all of your information in
Please
our
do.
posts so everyone
Yes.
could reach out to you as well.
Please do.
Amy Lanice Cowherd says, watch where you're going, avoid those cobwebs.
Let me tell you something, Amy. I have checked every single thing that El Renee has said. I'm like, yep, did that. Yep, did that. Yep, did that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but I am like,
me.
I'm clearing the path from the cobwebs.
Right.
So,
Right.
so thank you for that.
Charles
Break.
Blakely says, ice cream works.
It does.
Amy Lanice says, having personalities, personal standards don't make you picky, makes you smart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong. I always say this, y'all. I always say about the pickiness. Now, I'm not talking about Kill Bill Sarah. Now, I'm not talking about you either. Now, there is a difference because being picky about he didn't do a spell check right, dear. Calm down. We all make those mistakes, right?
Right.
He might not be the best speller in the world. He might not be, as polished as you want and expect. There are ways of being too picky where it's really a self-defense mechanism is really what it is. A lot of times when you meet people who are real picky about every little thing, and I call those machetes. Those are the machete girls where, they're ready to cut you off at any moment. That really is not about the person, the guy. A lot of times it's about you and not really being ready. You say it out of your mouth, you're ready for a relationship. But if you're not ready for compromise, if you're not ready for imperfection, then you're not ready for dating. You're not ready for love. Let me say it that way. So I'm not talking about, ruthless Sarah. I'm not talking about her, but I'm talking about being, if you want to call me picky because I won't allow you to come over and do Netflix and chill dates after a month, then okay, I'm okay with being picky. If you call me picky because I do want to not do a movie date, even at the movie theater, because you're not learning, you're not getting to know one another at a movie theater. You can't talk. You can't really get into conversations. If you call me picky because I prefer a phone date as opposed to text messaging, then call me picky. I want to make sure that we have things of substance to talk about. I can text you anything. I can be in your good morning, beautiful rotation text. And it means nothing.
Right.
I could be on the roster.
I want to put it because Erica says,
hallelujah, girl, you are kicking my
me too, Erica. Me too.
Y'all come on and join the movement.
Amy Lanice says, what's the name of your book? And that's the
one we did. Sorry.
Yeah. That's okay. She says the part you're not leaving a toothbrush.
That's right. When I was talking about the Netflix and chill.
Oh, okay, right.
Going in the refrigerator. Oh, y'all, I have a story, and I'm going to talk about him. All of my dating situations, I have a name for them. 12 Years a Slave. I talk about the Rubber Band Man. I talk about Mr. Picky. And Mr. Picky was the one that taught me no more Netflix and chill dates. He showed up to my house literally like he thought he was getting ready to go to bed. He had on the t-shirt and the gray sweatpants. You came in, you took your shoes off. I thought, what?
You're like, what?
Are you? You know you're going home, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you came in with one sack of chicken. I was like, whoa, what's all of this about? You know? Oh my God, yeah. And then what he was really doing was interviewing me as if he was looking for this dream woman that he had created in his head. So what he was trying to do was find a woman that he could groom into her. So he started talking and having these conversations about what kind of perfume I wore, how he preferred me to wear dresses, how he wanted me to wear my natural hair. I mean, it was just a list of all of these picky things. But at the end of the day, you couldn't offer half of the stuff you were expecting from me. So I'm just saying that's why these Netflix and chill dates, they put you into these intimate zones that you're not ready to go into just yet. Nobody, I'm not saying it's anything wrong. I'm not trying to be a prude and say, oh my God, calm down. It's okay. But let's be honest. 80% of the people that are out here dating and get into these entanglement zones, it is because you had no boundaries and you did do things like these Netflix and chill dates, and you found yourself in a relationship or a pseudo relationship because you guys were having the form of a relationship, but there was no formal commitment.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Amy Denise says delayed but not denied.
That's it. That is my story. That is my story. Because after that heartbreak that I talk about in the book, I went through a public humiliation with it because I let him into my world. Yeah. And I had to be the one to clean up because after all, everybody was like, oh, Renee's getting married, because let's tell the truth. People had written me off and they thought, oh, well, she's just to this and to that. Or, even people asking me, do you want to be married? And I thought,
right.
Yes. I'm just I want to make sure I'm married to the right person.
Right.
I had to come to the realization that I'm just not that desperate. I want someone, God knows I do, but not to the point of my dignity, not to the point of my sanity, not to the point of me making you a God. I had to begin to submit to the fact that I needed to wait for the right one. I'd wasted so much time dating the wrong ones. And it just went. So that's where the delay but not denied comes in, because I know that I felt like I was being denied sometimes, but God had to let me see that I'm holding back the best for you for this best time in your life. I would have not known what to do with the husband that I have now. I wouldn't have known what to do with him. I wouldn't have. I would have still been so broken and had so many unrealistic expectations to where I wouldn't even be able to manage and maintain what God had for me.
Yeah, I was gonna say and this might sound a little harsh. It's when you married, it's until death do you part. That's strong, but it's also, if y'all don't work out, it's still until death do you part, because he's connected to you. Even if you don't have kids, that energy that you guys are just intertwined, you're always going to be connected in some way. And then if you have kids, you're going to be connected. So it literally is until death do you part. It's serious. I want to say that. And then I wanted to say, like, I feel like women know it when they're in it. Like, and I dated a guy, very attractive. He was into social work. We were into the same things, but he had this thing about him that was, he would always, I look good, babe. Do you think I look good? I look good. I look good. I was like, okay, listen.
Yeah. The Albie Shores. That's what I call them. The Albie Shores.
I didn't even think of myself that much. I was like, dude, let me throw my hair in this quick little bun so I can get my college work done. I didn't think about that. We were in college together. And then one day I just was like, I can't do it. I literally broke up with him at the bus stop. I was like, I'm done. I don't even know what excuse I gave, but in my heart, I knew that it wasn't going to work. Because he was too vain, and I'm not a vain person. We know. But sometimes in that situation, we're so desperate to have someone that we just settle for it. You know what I mean?
Yes. I did a series. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I'm going to say, we just settle for it. And then it turns into something terrible. Yeah.
I did a series in October called Mrs. Somebody. Because I knew that I had been there before, where at one point in my dating life, I was like, I don't care who I marry. I just want to be Mrs. Somebody. And I think a lot of women, y'all, we have been privy to that. You get weary in the waiting for the right one, to where you will begin to settle and say, listen, it doesn't matter who he is. And you start talking to yourself and trying to convince yourself to be with someone, not because they're the right one for you, but because you want that person. You're just ready for that connection. But in all honesty, you want to look for what's going to work in the longevity of a relationship. That's why I say we got to stay away from these surface dating things of how good we look together, how he makes me feel in terms of, I feel girly, and there's nothing wrong with those things. I mean, I love that. I love feeling that way. but I'm saying that those cannot be the qualities that are going to sustain us. When I look at the marriage vows and what they actually say, which is why sometimes I see how people are like, oh, I'm going to say my own vows. Now you can at me if you want, it's fine. But I'm just saying that in all honesty, when you look at the marriage vows, sometimes we want to skip away from that in an effort of saying, oh, no, I don't want that. But all I'm saying is that when you look at it to say to have and to hold, when you look at what that actually means, to have you when you're getting on my nerves, to hold you when I want to walk away, to have you when I think you don't understand a word I just said out of my mouth. Those are committed vows. And you know what I had to understand? I was actually making vows with the wounds that I had. I was married to my pain, y'all. I was married to that. And then when I made space, I had to make room for being married to the right person in my life. It just could not be me in the pain, me in the pain, me in the pain. I had to break up with that. That changed my dating life. It changed the way I looked at love. It changed my perception about love. And I was able to understand that there were some things that I still needed to grow in. And I didn't put the finger. And if you notice, I didn't point fingers at, oh, he was this and he was that. And he, of course, you have to be honest about who the person is. But I didn't stay there. I didn't stay there. I had to begin to say, well, what was going on with me? That I let 12 years of slave stay in my life? What did I do wrong? 12 years. And look, as the movies, I'm a movie buff, y'all. Color Purple. Don't trade places with me, silly. Don't do it. Don't trade places with me, y'all. Listen to what I'm telling you. So your eyes not swollen. You don't get out of jail 100 years later. Listen to me, because I gave 12 years a slave too much access. Period.
Yeah.
Right.
The whole situation would have been over much sooner had I not, as the song say, leave the door open, close the door. Leave that door open.
Put the like the deadbolt lock, not the hotel lock where you can just open and peek a little bit.
I'm watching these movies where you got the little chain thing in that he can break through. No, shut the door. No room. When I say it's over. So that was just lessons that I had to learn, so that I couldn't just only put the blame on him. I had to actually look at some things that I was doing. When I made the statement that I'll never forget that I said to him, I said, you don't know how to be my friend. Because of course he came back with the, let's just be friends. Can we still be friends? Can I submit to you, if you are a repeat offender, then no, we cannot be friends.
Wow.
How many times have we let a repeat offender? You have already offended me. You have already shown me that you couldn't be trusted. You've already shown me that you didn't want what I wanted. You've already shown me that you don't respect me. You've already shown me that you're not healed. But yet and still I'm applying for another visa. Shut the door. No.
But what did you say?
I have enough friends. Thank you.
Right.
Wait, I want to get to some comments real quick because they're backing up.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, this is awesome.
Amy Lanice says, not being ready, call me picky for being celibate.
Awesome.
No,
You
picky
go,
picky is good. Mm-hmm. Amy, at least Lanice says, entanglements preach to us.
Come on.
Amy Lanice also says there is always a wait period before the blessing.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah,
it's the truth. Amy Lanice says, "Boy, bye" is the only excuse needed.
I know that's right.
Right.
And then she says, "Amen."
Yeah.
Erica D. Tillery says, I had a situation where every time we get around people, we would always say, oh yeah, my babe work when she want to cause she makes good money. I have to work doubles. That would piss me off. I knew it was jealousy. Why are men jealous of their women or their ladies?
Okay.
Wow.
All right. Can I go there?
Yes. Okay. Let me get my drink, as Kendra does when we about to get really
deep. When we
about to get This is good. This is good stuff.
Yeah.
Can I submit to you her comment says, my man. Yeah. When she says, why are men, let me go back to what she said. I don't like to put words in people's mouths. I want to say what you said. You said, I had a situation that he would say, oh yeah, babe works when she wants to because she makes good money. All right. And she said it would piss me off because I felt the jealousy. Why are men jealous of their women or their lady? Now, let's go there. You ready?
Yep.
When there is not, first of all, he's not your man. That's number one. He's not your man. We are out here. When a person shows you who they are, you better believe them.
Right.
If he's showing you that there is already that there's a jealousy about what you do, then that indicates that he doesn't have the same drive and ambition as you. Same drive and ambition doesn't mean we have to work the same careers. It doesn't mean that we have to make the same amount of money, because guess what? I've dated men and I know women who are married to men who make great money and doesn't share a dime with them. So it's not even about what he makes. It's about what does he do with what he makes and how does he impart that to you?
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Right. The jealousy comes in because I see you doing something that deep down I know I also have the ability to do.
Wow.
But I'm lazy.
Yeah.
But I'm still hurt. Right. I'm still unhealed. Right. I'm still not accountable. This is what, and matter of fact, tonight's show is going to be about that. What men say and what women hear. That's one of the main things that we hear all the time. Men are saying things to us that we're not hearing what they're really saying. What he's really saying is that I don't have the commitment, the stamina, the ambition, the drive to match your energy, not your paycheck.
Right.
You don't have to match my paycheck, but you do need to match my energy. Yeah. If you're making 12 coins an hour, what are you going to do with those 12 coins? Because whatever you do with 12, you're going to do it with 120. Whatever you do with 120, you're going to do with 1,020,020.
Right.
So what he's saying to you is he was not on your level. Right. He was not on your level.
Wow.
He was jealous of what you were able to do, probably because he knew deep within, he knew he had the ability to do the same thing.
Right.
But being around someone who is driven will either show what you have inside of you or it'll show what you're not doing. We don't in the 21st century, we don't have time to fall in love with potential anymore.
Right.
Hello.
Right.
We don't. Potential is unused, unmatched energy. We don't have time for that anymore.
To drag you down, Erica said, right. Yes, it was my fault giving him too much of my business.
Okay. She said we were dating the same person. Listen,
they are funny.
We all have dated from the time wasting family. Trust me.
I know that's right.
The time wasting family.
All of us here. Yes.
She says very sad men like that.
I definitely want to say this too. I don't want this to be like I'm bashing men. I want to give validity to that. These men are tired too. They are traumatized too. They are unhealed too. And unfortunately, in our culture, women, there's all kinds of resources for us. There's even allowances for us to be emotional, for us to be traumatized, but there is not a lot of safe spaces for men to really share what they have going on. There's still these images that we're still holding in them too. Because I've met women that have said, oh, he crying too much. Girl, let that man cry.
Yes, that's actually great.
Now, here we go. Now, I didn't say somebody who cried at every little thing either.
Right.
The Lord says we got to have balance. Now, I'm not talking about somebody who is crying about the oatmeal is too lumpy. We're not saying that. We're not saying that. But I mean, when a real man, and I want to try to stop saying real, but I'm saying when you encounter a man who is honest enough to share his feelings and things of that nature, we've got to create a safe space for that.
Right.
We really
Right.
do. It's not fair to ask him to listen to us and all our woes and all our tears and all our drama every day. But then he can't come home and have a day where he just needs to, unload and vent without feeling like he's not being a man or being masculine because of that. So I've been there. I've been there on both sides of that story where I've had men that really, you do cry too much. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's about stuff you can fix.
Amy Lenise says, I kept allowing my repeat offender to say, I'm sorry.
Oh, girl.
No.
Yes, honey. I wrote that he had t-shirts, tattoos, the whole I'm sorry kit and caboodle. Yeah.
But I was going to say, because I was going to say before earlier, that it's a bait. And it could be narcissistic because if you allow him to be your friend, then you talk to him and then he baits you and he pulls you back in. And next thing you know, you in that situation. He don't want to do with you, but now y'all having sex and he's where he is and doing his own thing. So it's kind of a bait. You know what I mean?
I talked about that on the show on October 14th as well. I talked about the fact that they can, when you have someone who has used, who will use the intimate details. That's why you got to be careful staying in the friend zone too long. Right. Because when you stay in the friend zone too long, you're giving them all the ammunition they need. You're telling them all your business. You're telling them what the guy did and how he was and what you like and what you don't like. You're giving him all of your ammunition. So if he wants to move into the entanglement zone and all the other project zones and all of these things, this is why it's so difficult to get away. Because you're giving him you're telling him everything about you. I even tell my clients on the first couple of dates, don't go in with your list of, my ex and this one time at band camp, he stepped on my toe and now every year at around that time my toe aches when the moon is shining. Stop telling all of your life in the beginning. It should be thought-provoking questions to let me know what your character is about. It's not a Dr. Phil session. It's not.
Right. And like you said, we can't blame men for everything. And that's why people need to talk to you and have him so you can understand what you do and do not want. And just because that person is like, if they don't do something that you don't like and you can't stand it, it's okay to be like, no, I don't want to be a part of this. But you have to have the skills to do that. You can't just brush it off. Oh, he's jealous. That's so cute. It just showed that he really, we tend to do that a lot.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, yes. We are guilty of that. That was the whole point of me in my healing journey. God pointed the finger at me. Every time I wanted to point it on the heartbreak and all the things that I went through with him, he was still pointed back to me to say, what can you learn from this? What was your role in this? What were some things in hindsight? He would not let me not be accountable for my own behavior. He wanted me to finally say, you know what? I did let him have too much access. I did have high hopes for things for him without really giving him the time, the space, and the consistency. All of these things that I share in the book, the things that I share in my coaching program, the things I share on the show are things that I really went through. This is not, like I said, 3 steps to a date. I didn't read a book and then all of a sudden I'm a guru. I'm telling you the things that I went through. I'm sharing with you what my journey was in efforts and hope that you don't have to go down this road with me, silly. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Now, Kendra,
I have a question. What were you going to say?
So I was going to say, do you feel like men court? You know how back in the day men would court?
No.
Yeah.
No.
You know why they don't?
Like you said, they Netflix and chill. Yeah, that's true. They Netflix and chill. They text you, "Good morning, beautiful." Like it's, and we make it easy. And I know, I'm definitely guilty of that, which is why I have a question. Amy also has a question, and then we're gonna close because we can go all night. And I know you got another show.
I'm having a good old
I need to be refreshed for your 9 o'clock show.
Oh gosh.
But so I'm gonna ask my question, Amy's question, Izzi, if you have a question, and then kind of Renee, kind of end with you just kind of giving your final thoughts.
Okay.
So my question to you is, when it comes to dating, is it okay for a woman to date more than one person at a time? Because I feel like when we get, in my opinion, I feel like when we are only dating one person, that's where that fantasy, and then we start like filling in the gap versus when you're dating, and not saying, you know, and I don't even mean like sexual or whatever, but when you're dating multiple people. So can you touch on that, because inquiring minds want to know?
Yes, for sure. 100% emphatically, yes. I recommend it, I support it, and I say, yay, go on as many dates as you can with different people. Now, here's the thing, and this is y'all getting into what I'm gonna talk about tonight. We hear with our emotions, we date with our emotions, we perceive with our emotions. I say that women are not good, especially good girls, especially professional women, are not good at dating because we are taught to wait for the one. Wait for the one. Meanwhile, the rules of engagement and dating have changed. Yes. You have to be in a rotation, so to speak, of dating more than one person. One, so you get to practice. Right. We need practicing with dating. Guys are great at dating. They're great at when I have the time, when I feel like being bothered, when I'm, interested, then this is what I reach for. What we do is come out the gate, out the womb saying, I'm looking for the one. Are you the one? Are you the one?
In the baby station.
What happens is what you just said. When you only focus on one person, then you forget that you are the prize. Right. You forget what courting feels like, because that's what we do, is that when I'm only looking for the one, then I'm not being courted. I'm on the hunt. I'm on the prowl. I'm looking. Is it you? Is it you? Is it you? But when I'm being courted and pursued, you get to compare. And you also get to understand that you are the prize. Right. I should be courted. If I'm going according to biblical principles, it should be more than one suitor. Oh, they don't want to hear that, Renee. Yes, it is. It should be more than one suitor. Why? Because all of these people are competing for me, the prize. And this is all I'm going to say. The word says that we wear the t-shirts all the time. Oh, he that finds a man finds a good thing. Go to the next part of the scripture. But it says he obtains my favor. He gets my favor. Whatever my dowry is, if it's my EBT card, if it's my perfect credit, if it's, I'm serious, if it's my housing voucher, whatever comes with me, you're coming to get what comes with me. Right. But when I'm only focused on one person, then I forget that I am the one that you should be pursuing. Right. That makes sense. I'm the one that should be pursued. And we get out of practice with that when we're only waiting for one person, and then we're trying to convince that person. That's not dating. I don't have to convince you of anything.
Right. It's so funny that when you say that, there's like a sense of pride that's given back to me. Like you're giving me the power to set my boundaries, because it's crazy. I just it's like, wow, okay. Yeah.
That is such a powerful tool that I want to put back into single women, because we have lost that, because professional, beautiful, talented women, independent women have been told that what you won't do, another one will. Right. But when we begin to normalize that, guess what? She can do it. And if you fall for it, then you're not for me either.
Right. And that's okay.
That's what I'm looking for. I don't want someone who wants boom boom instead of Cinderella. Go with her then. Go with her. Yes. Date.
Awesome. All right. So let's wrap up real quick. Amy says, I needed to hear that. Renee, I am the prize. And then she has this question. It's going to be the last question.
Okay.
So
it's so hard.
We're definitely got to have you back on. But so do you think being a habitual liar can be changed?
No.
Yeah. There you go.
And I say it with a smile. No.
Right.
Yeah.
It cannot be changed by you. No.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If you think you can change that person, no. Can anybody change? They can, but it has to be on their will. It has to be on their validity. It has to be under their unction. You cannot change a habitual liar. When a person shows you who they are, ask yourself, why am I going to wait for a habitual liar to change?
Right.
Yes.
Why?
And then Amy has one last comment. So we're just gonna read. We're just gonna read this one silently, okay? So I'm gonna give you a heads up on what this says, but she is right.
Oh,
you better say that, Amy. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And it's not always. And let's go there. And I'm putting my age out there now. It's not always the chicken heads that are falling for that. That's my point. It's professional women who have plenty of sense and out here running the world and still failing when it comes to that. So it's not just that, and you are completely right.
Yeah. I think the world needs what you have for both men and women. We are so far gone.
Yes.
When it comes to relationships. So far gone. Yeah.
And like Izzi said, like I feel like Izzi said it perfectly, just like empowered and more like just from this conversation, more like okay, you know what I mean? So
we need that push.
Right.
We need that push again to go back to us being the prize and us being worthy of that chase, and not giving into that desperation of I've got to be. You don't have to be anything but you. That is such a liberating fact to live by. Not hear it, not wear t-shirts about it, not shout about it, but I mean to live in those words of saying, you know what, I am enough. I am enough.
Like in the conversations with the lovebirds, Darlene, she has that.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that? Like she has that in the way that she is. And she talks about how, she did this and this is what she wanted. And it was like, and I'm like, oh wow, really? And then but I feel that.
Yes. And the thing is how you can feel that and my pastor says this all the time, we impart not what we know, but who we are. And so when you are engaged with people who have arrived to that place, the more that we can impart that into other people, the more, again, you might not, I'm not going to say you're going to be perfect from now on, but I guarantee you're going to look at relationships a little differently. When you start coming across time wasters, now I've put something in your ear to make you go back and say, wait, hold on, this is a repeat offender. I'm not dealing with. That's what it's all about. It's one step.
I literally need like a like your 12 years a slave, I'll be sure, this, that. So I can be like, oh, nope, that's an I'll be sure. Nope, that's 12 years. Nope, rubber band man.
Right.
I know, right? I love it. I've learned like so much in just this little bit of time. I'm definitely coming on at 9:00. I gotta.
Me too. Which is why, ladies, we're gonna have to end the show because we can keep going.
So much fun.
I know, but I want you to be fresh and ready to go. Not to say, you can't, but I want to be respectful of your time and what else you have to do. So Amy is laughing at Rubber Band Man. She said page 87, me from the Lovebird book. And then said, we need you, Renee. Man, I would love to hear you on the Love Doctor. And that's Love 101. Remember I sent you that link?
Yes,
but yes, so we definitely are going to have you on, and not just for the great conversation. I feel like I've like known you forever, and like we can be sitting in a cafe. Everybody knows I'm obsessed with cafes. So cafe, just chopping it up. So I want you to have the last word on what you want to leave with our audience tonight, and then we will close out.
Okay. All right. Again, grace and peace to each of you. And thank you so much, Kendra. Thank you so much, Izzi, for the divine connection. I share this with Kendra is that, I want to begin to promote not only the things that God has given me to do, but I'm thankful to be connected to people who also have positive content, positive creators. I am really tired. I'm ready to say death to the foolishness that people are getting paid for, people are getting endorsements for. But it shows you the status of where we are as a world. With the pandemic still going on, this is the perfect time for singles to take the journey that I had to take. In terms of being introspective, in terms of really beginning to align not only the things that you say out of your mouth, but align them with what your heart is desiring. That's my prayer and my desire for everybody that I encounter. I always say my motto is that I am the missing element to every situation that I encounter. So if you are looking for a transformative life coach, if you're looking for a dating coach, if you're looking for, we didn't even get into online dating. We'll talk about that another time. But I am an advocate of online dating. I met my husband online. I mean, hey, we can go on and on about that. But what I want to do, though, is to make sure that I empower men and women that are single. Number one, to not get weary in the waiting. Number two, to use the time of singleness to not think that you are being punished. That's another one. I had to go through that. You're not being punished. There is a reason for the delay, because we don't have enough time, and we don't want to continue to go through relationships that are just on the surface. I want to help people and empower people to actually attract and manifest that forever love. That's what we're all looking for. Nobody has time for these temporary entanglements anymore. And so all I want to do is just encourage you to do the things that I had to do. I had to seek a counselor. I had to seek a life coach. I had to make space in my life for what I was really saying I wanted and desired. And more than anything, I had to begin to get busy on what I call my self-fulfilling journey, which was beginning to invest in myself. That was the beginning of the turnaround for me. I'm so thankful for this opportunity. I don't count it lightly. I don't look like what I've been through, but that's the beauty of healing. He says that I'll give you beauty for ashes. And that is my prayer, that you all hold on and don't give up. Yes, he is out there. Yes, she is out there. But if there is a delay, there must be a reason. And if you're not sure, hey, call me up and let's talk about it so we can get you ready for your forever love.
You're gonna get tired of me. That's all I have to say. Let me get in my house. Let me get in my house and get ready and get my January 4th is coming, and after that. And Izzi, I'm telling you now, is going to have some say so, because she already told me that what her mission is for me. So.
Oh yeah, I'm going to connect with Renee so we can all get together. Let's do
it. Let's do it.
Yeah. So I think it's appropriate for us to. Oh, Tina Life is tuned in. What's up, Tyrone?
Hey, Tyrone.
Go back and watch the podcast because we're getting ready to sign off. But thank you for jumping on. And then I want to end with this, because this is a perfect ending comment. Thank you, Amy. Man, feel good talk. Y'all fill me up with knowledge all week. And yes, we have shows on all week. And we thank you for tuning in tonight. And she ends with hearts. And that's appropriate, because we always end our show with a heart and say thank you guys for tuning in. We love you. And thank you, El Renee, for blessing us with your presence. And we will see you guys next week.
See you next time. All right. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.